Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. The market has pulled back in a significant way. I've been talking extensively over the last week on why I believe that the markets were going to sell off, why it was a good opportunity to be able to take some profits and look to compound on those dips that are coming, and the market has done nothing but sell off. This is a huge opportunity for anybody that's looking to restructure their portfolios, looking to compound some of those profits they made. And for today's video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how to play the market volatility over the next couple months and how to strategically place yourself so we can make the most profit when the next leg up takes place. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, now here we are to start off today's video, and we're going to be taking a look at what's happening with Bitcoin in the shorter time frames. Now in my last video, we were all the way up here consolidating, and I was talking about why I expect that we're going to see the market start to sell off. And it was pretty quick timing that only a couple hours after that video, we ended up seeing this massive red candle come in here. And this happened right after the stock market ended up closing. And so as it stands right now, the S&P 500's actually held pretty good support. We've seen the dollar starting to sell off. But during this time, Bitcoin has kind of showed weakness. It hasn't parodied as much with the S&P 500 as we would normally expect to see. And I don't think that none of that really matters, because the big thing that we've been watching, if you guys have been following along with my videos, is the fact that we were expecting a drop because of the fact we finished this wave 5, right? During any Elliott wave impulse, you're always going to see 3 impulse waves. And that's what we were watching for once we actually ended up hitting upwards of this August high, was the fact that our final impulse could very well be in play. And with that being said, once we started to sell off here, once our top of our wave 3 began to act as resistance, that's the point where I started to believe that, most likely we're in a deeper type of correction and we're most likely to come back down lower. And then from that point, we had this massive sell-off. And so as it stands right now, we've kind of been consolidating sideways for the last couple days, haven't really done any sort of large type of a move. And for me, the market can really go either way. Now in the short term, like I stated, I wouldn't be surprised to see us rally back up near the range 3 highs before this ends up, selling off and we end up going down for our final low. Regardless, I don't think it matters so much whether we bounce here or whether we drop straight to 21,500 and retest this level here. I think that no matter what, the big thing that we should be watching for is some type of a relief bounce. Whether that relief bounce happens here or whether we come back down for one more final low and then the relief bounce happens like that. I think no matter what, we're going to go through a period of chop, and then that period of chop is going to ultimately resolve in one more final low. And so the question is, how big is the lower high going to be? How volatile are we going to get? Is this thing going to manage to come all the way back up to basically the highs of wave 3, and could this even rally as high as retesting some of our resistance over here from the August high? Because I think either way there is a possibility that that can happen, but I don't think it changes anything on the bigger picture. What I'm going to continue to watch for is one more final sell-off as we drop back down to about sub 20k, somewhere around that. That's what I'm watching for when it comes to Bitcoin. And from that point of me talking about this, I've been worried a little bit about us actually selling off, because if we come in here and look at the bigger time frames, remove our drawing tools, if we come over here, we knew that we were looking at a little bit of exhaustion. Our indicators, our momentum indicators, were showing that we made a higher high in price, but we made a lower high and even a lower low on the momentum indicators, which is telling us that most likely this short-term trend has exhausted and we would expect to see a little period of consolidation. Now, one of the levels that I'm personally watching for is this 30-day moving average, and we're on a weekly time frame, keep note of. And this is oftentimes a very important trending indicator for determining where the direction of Bitcoin is going to be headed. And you can see the second that this became resistance during the first period of our bear market, that was really the period where we got a strong sell signal, and that really signaled the final capitulation and the rally towards, the whole market collapsing throughout our summer period, leading into the FTX collapse right there. And so we haven't really retested this level. We broke above it. Now that we started to get a little bit of exhaustion over here, as indicated by this most recent move up in our momentum indicators waning, I think it's likely that this is going to continue to resolve to the downside, which this downside target, if we were to come back down onto this moving average, is sitting here almost snug with about $19,500 to $20,000. And that's where I'm expecting the market's going to come back down to and ultimately have to retest before this move is over. Once we can truly cement that the bottom is in my opinion, it's going to come off of one more final retrace back down, no matter how the short term looks. Because the short term, keep a note of, is and can be very volatile. We could see this thing chop around a bit. Keep a note that if we end up doing something like this, we did technically break below our trend line that we had been building on and sustaining ourselves on for the entirety of this recent breakout off of our lows. And so if we're looking at this, let's remove our moving average. I won't be the least bit surprised to see a little bit of relief bounce rallying upwards of this previous trend line. Because keep in mind that if we rally all the way up to the top of the trend line, we would be sitting pretty close up here to the range highs of August and most recently the high that we made at the top of our wave 5. And so any sort of relief bounce, it could get pretty volatile. And I just want you guys to be aware of that. If we saw a strong move off of these lows, we could come all the way back up to about 24, 25K and retest those highs. We could temporarily break above the wave 3 high, but it won't change anything. No, keep a note of, guys, that we're most likely still going to be in some type of bearish continuation pattern. This would drop back down, and then we would start to see those bigger drops to the downside. If we do start to see a pretty decent sized bounce to the upside, I think that we should still proceed with caution, because it doesn't really mean that this bearish move is over. It just means that we're getting a little bit of relief. And so if the best word that I could use to describe how we're most likely going to see the next 1 to 2 months play out, I would say choppy, and I would say that a lot of people are going to end up getting chopped up inside of this consolidation, probably FOMO into resistance, and then watch as we get one big flush to take out all of those late buyers. That's kind of what I'm watching for. But one of the big things we need to all pay attention for moving forward is simply going to be our S&P 500. The S&P 500 is doing some very important things, and it's pretty much following along with what I wanted to see play out. And what that really is the fact that we know that we had this descending resistance. We knew that back at the very end of January, we finally broke out of that descending resistance. And then from that point, we've just ended up getting this longer term correction. Now, this correction took us all the way back onto support of this descending trend line, except now instead of it acting as resistance, it's acting as ascending support. And so we did get a support and resistance flip in here. On top of that, that happened after 5 waves up. This support and resistance flip came after an ABC correction back down. Typical Elliott wave structure that you want to see. And then also the big thing that we're looking at here is the fact that we bounced directly off the 618. So everything that we need to see with the S&P 500 is playing out. It looks bullish. From this level, I wouldn't be surprised if we did see a pullback. We've had a strong couple of days here with the S&P 500. Really, last weekend, we started to build what looked to be some type of a bottom formation. And then as we've seen the market open today, we've seen nothing but really bullish price action. And so in the short term, we could chop around here a little bit. We might pull back, do something like this before we go up. But I think that for the most part, now that we've retested our descending resistance as support, I think that this is a signal that most likely this is going to hold, even if it ends up being some type of choppy period. We might have to go through a period of reconsolidation above this level, but I don't think that we're going to be breaking below it. I'm pretty positive that the bear market is over, and with us actually bouncing off of this so strongly, it kind of proved that, at least to the slight bit. And so with Bitcoin, I don't think it changes anything in the short term. In the short term, we could actually see a little bit of a relief rally with the S&P 500 actually performing well, but I don't think it's anything to get too carried away over. I'm still personally expecting that we're going to see one more final downtrend, one more final flush that's going to take us to about the low 19,000s, and then from there we could start to talk about being bullish. But I think that that's really what we should watch out for. And I think that a lot of other altcoins are kind of also signaling to us that this short-term correction isn't over, even if we do see a bounce off the lows. And one of them on that list is going to be Curve DAO. And if I come over here and remove our drawing tools for Curve, this is one I've talked about in my last couple videos, but I think that out of all of these, this one kind of tells a story. There's a few altcoins, some of those higher cap cryptos, that actually tell a little bit of a deeper story. And what I see playing out, we have the same Elliott wave structure as what Bitcoin was showing us. We've already finished 5 waves up based off of this. There is the potential that, if our wave 5 isn't over and we do end up getting one more impulse, we did talk about how that's possible with Bitcoin. But for the most part, I'm going to stick to what I see right now until something changes. And what I see is that we've already finished 5 waves up, And what we're working on right now is our ABC correction. Now, I believe that that's where we're at. And, you know, we did finish a quick impulse back down onto wave 4 support. And so from this level, I really won't be surprised to see any type of a bounce, whether that goes a little over $1.05 or whether we go all the way back up to the wave 3 highs. It doesn't really change anything because I do expect that we'll see one more final corrective move back down. And so what we're going to be working on right now, most likely over the next couple weeks, is the potential that we see some type of corrective wave, which is a bullish move, a short-term impulse off of our wave 4 support, and we rally back up into resistance. This is where I think a lot of people are going to get overconfident in the markets. You know, we'll probably see some altcoins take off, some lower cap cryptos will make new all-time highs. There will still be profit to be made nonetheless around these periods, but I think that it's all going to be distribution. As we rally back upwards into resistance, I think that that'll set us in for one more final, you know, drop and impulse, I should say, back down to basically the 618. And that's going to be the case on all of these altcoins, is really targeting a 618 correction, which is really what I'm personally looking for inside of the market. You know, you could still make some profit, especially if we bounce right in here. There's going to be altcoins that are running 10, 20, 30% off of their support floors, maybe even higher than that. And so it's not like that it's a no trade zone by any means. I still think we can make some profit, but what I'm really mainly focused on is when this bigger C leg comes in, and then that's the point where a lot of these altcoins are going to get pushed down in a big way. And that's where you're going to be wanting to catch those dips because, you know, on Curve, it's pretty much just going to be us reclaiming a prior support zone, or I should say a prior resistance level as support. This entire consolidation that we were in leading into the FTX collapse, I think that that's the level that we're going to be bouncing off of. And so for me, I'm just kind of going to be waiting till we get that move. I don't think that the market, even if we start bouncing off of this level, I don't think it really tells us that it's bullish because this still looks like a distribution type of consolidation. Now, another one on today's list is pretty much in the same boat, and that's Polkadot. It doesn't really change anything from our last talk about Curve. To me, this looks exactly the same. We finished 5 waves up. And what we're working on right now is the corrective move. We finished wave A. I think that wave B is going to be us seeing a little bit of a bounce. And then wave C will still take us in here for a decent sized drop. And so if you're wondering how to accumulate the altcoins, this is kind of how I'm looking to accumulate them. I'm looking to buy the 618. And, you know, we're pretty much sitting at the 618 right now, which is why I say, you know, you could probably make a little bit of money by buying some of these things, because assuming that we bounce back up into resistance, you could actually trade some of these for a short-term swing, and then who knows how deep this C leg goes. You know, maybe it only comes back down to pretty much this 618 level, and we just barely break below. It's hard to say. We could even go all the way to the 786, which is why for me, you know, I've done my part by taking profits on what I want to, and what I'm going to mainly be looking for is, you know, what time does Bitcoin actually hit the 618? Because I think that that's going to be the best way of determining when the altcoins are going to be setting up as good buys. Because if we're looking at Bitcoin, I mean, technically Bitcoin hasn't even hit the 382 yet. So as a lot of these altcoins, you know, we look at a number of these altcoins that have kind of sold off in a big way. They've already retested all the way back down at their wave 4 support. A lot of these are in a little bit different situations than Bitcoin. You know, they've had a bigger drop on the first wave to back down. And so with Bitcoin being more holding better support, even if we see a bounce up in here, I think that the big focus should be once Bitcoin starts to go around to its 618, that's where we're going to be looking for these altcoins to bottom. And so with certain coins like Polkadot that have already kind of bounced off that 618 and are sitting in between support of that, I think that these ones could go all the way back down to the 786 and make a deeper correction inside of this first impulse. And so all of them are going to be at different points. You know, I'm sure there's going to be outliers that end up breaking out and actually holding much better support even when Bitcoin goes into its final sell-off. But I don't really think that it changes anything because all of the main cryptos here that we see, they're kind of all in at least similar situations where to me they all look topped. I mean, that to me is, you know, what I think is consistent across the board. And when we're looking at coins like Solana, you know, it did have a final 5-wave impulse, and we can see that if we come down here and look at our L8 waves. We finished wave 1, finished wave 3 and wave 4. And in my opinion, this most recent move into resistance was wave 5. We saw 5 impulse waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we're kind of correcting back down. And so as we've corrected back down onto wave 4 support, I really won't be surprised if over the next couple weeks we see a relief bounce. You know, the altcoins rally back up to the wave 3 highs, but I don't think it changes anything because most likely we're still probably going to end up coming back down for one more final dip. like this. And then that's going to be the real area where you want to be buying. So my advice would be not to get too worried about the short-term consolidation. If we see a bounce, you're probably not getting left behind. But like I've stated, the best thing to strategize with this stuff is just to have a little bit of money that you always keep into these positions. So if they end up running higher than you expect, you're not caught off guard, and you can just take more profit, because that's what I think is the best strategy for me anyways. That's kind of how I've done all of this trading over the last couple weeks. And so now that we're at this point where we might see a relief bounce, to me, I still think it's just going to ultimately resolve into a deeper corrective move back down. And I could be wrong by that. I hope I'm right on the fact that we'd go lower, because then we can get a bunch of these better entries. I mean, if we're looking at Solana back here at $15 or something, that's going to be a pretty decent size return, because the next move that are coming off of these lows, in my opinion, are the ones that break out and make the big strides up. It'll look something along the lines of this. And so being able to accumulate during this dip is going to be an opportunity, and I think that most people are going to squander that opportunity by getting too over ahead of themselves. If the markets start bouncing like this, we make another run back up to the wave 3 highs. I think a lot of people are just going to assume that we're going to break out, and a lot of people are going to end up FOMO buying right before a deeper correction ensues. And so I just think that we should be aware of all of this stuff. I mean, big picture, Bitcoin to me is what's telling us that, most likely the trend is over. When we're looking at certain altcoins, they could look like they're holding up a little bit better, but I just think that this is ultimately a corrective structure before we get one more leg down. And really, one of the biggest altcoins on that list has been Matic. It's really led the market in a big way. And so if Matic can be any sort of idea as far as market direction, I think that this one out of all of them is showing a pretty clear 5 waves up. And we did just break the short-term uptrend. It'll just be a retrace of this uptrend, but this will be a bearish retest before we get one more big drop. And so this is going to be the case on all of these altcoins. It's kind of what I'm seeing right now. If we do see relief, it's just going to be a short-term bounce into wave B before we get one more final sell-off. And that's kind of what all the altcoins are telling me. I mean, this thing's either just going to keep dropping and do something like this all the way back down, or we get a little bit of relief over the next couple weeks, which to me would make the most sense considering we did see just a big drop off of our trend line. So I wouldn't be surprised to see us bounce back up. But regardless, guys, this is why I was bearish. This is why I was telling you guys to, practice risk. Take profits if you haven't, because most likely we're going to see a correction. Now that we've broke the main trend line, I don't really think that there's anything more that we can look at for confirmation, because we did just get the confirmation. So for me, I'm sitting in cash on a lot of stuff. I'm just still holding the main positions that I accumulated down here that I haven't taken profits on. And I'm just going to be looking to, capitalize on the down move that's ahead. I think that that's going to be the real opportunity to make the money, because that's where we're going to be able to buy into these dips. And so if you guys watch this channel and you've seen me call these markets really well, and you want to know kind of what I'm buying, what I'm selling, how much I'm taking profits on, what I'm looking to compound inside of this dip heading into the next year and whatnot, you guys really need to join my Discord server. We've had a lot of new signups lately, a lot of people that are looking to get into this, see all my portfolio, see how I'm trading, ask me specific questions on different charts and altcoins and stuff. If you guys want to have my undivided attention, you want to be able to know how I'm doing all my trading, how I'm doing my long-term investing and all of that stuff, links are in the description to go ahead and sign up on my website. It's a one-time fee, lifetime membership, as long as I'm doing crypto, as long as I'm investing in general, because it goes aside from crypto. I talk about stocks sometimes, I talk about NFTs, I talk about a lot of different things that are, a little bit more secluded away from specifically me just talking about altcoins. So if you guys want to get access to all that stuff and be knowing how I'm doing it over the course of the long term, links are in the description to go ahead and sign up. I thank you guys so much every day. Shout out to all the people that listened and took some profits. I think that you're going to be greatly rewarded, and you're going to be thankful for the fact that you did that. Now that we've got our confirmation that the bear correction is, really in full suit, I think that now is a huge opportunity to be focusing in on how we're going to compound those gains, what we're going to reaccumulate. And so I look forward to being able to see how you guys are able to, trade off of this bottom. I'm going to keep you guys updated. This was a quick update just to give you guys a little bit of an idea of what I think is going to happen now that we've sold off. Now that we've sold off, you guys know my thoughts, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. As always, peace out.